Plato's Republic is one of the most influential works in Western philosophy, addressing themes of justice, governance, education, and the nature of reality. Written in the 4th century before Christ, the Republic is a dialogue between Socrates and several other interlocutors, including Glaucon and Adeimantus. The text explores the idea of a just society, the role of the philosopher-king, and the structure of the soul. Through this, Plato presents his vision of an ideal state, which has continued to shape philosophical thought and political theory for over 2,000 years. The structure of the Republic. The Republic is divided into 10 books, each covering a range of philosophical topics. In Book 1, Plato discusses the nature of justice and whether it is better to be just or unjust. The following books delve into the construction of the ideal city, which Plato refers to as Callipolis. The city is designed to reflect justice on a larger scale, with each class, rulers, auxiliaries, and producers, performing their proper role. By Book 7, Plato introduces the famous allegory of the cave, which symbolizes the philosopher's journey from ignorance to knowledge. The dialogue culminates in a discussion of the immortality of the soul and the philosopher's life. Justice in the Republic. One of the central questions in the Republic is, what is justice? In the dialogue, Socrates challenges the conventional views of justice held by his interlocutors. Thrasymachus, for example, argues that justice is nothing more than the advantage of the stronger, meaning that those in power define what is just to benefit themselves. However, Socrates refutes this, suggesting that justice is a virtue that contributes to the well-being of both the individual and the community. According to Plato, justice in the soul mirrors justice in the city, where each part does its proper job without interfering with the others. The rulers, guided by wisdom, govern, the auxiliaries, motivated by courage, protect the city, and the producers provide for its material needs. This tripartite structure reflects Plato's belief that a just society must be harmoniously ordered, with every class performing its appropriate function. The philosopher-king. Plato's ideal ruler is the philosopher-king, a wise and virtuous individual who governs not for personal gain, but for the good of the city. In the Republic, Plato argues that philosophers are best suited to rule because they have knowledge of the forms, especially the form of the good. Unlike other rulers, who may be motivated by power or wealth, the philosopher-king seeks to create a just society based on truth and reason. Plato contends that only those who have ascended from the darkness of the cave, representing ignorance, into the light of knowledge can truly govern in the interest of justice. This notion of the philosopher-king has had a profound impact on political thought, influencing subsequent ideas about enlightened rulers and the role of wisdom in governance. The allegory of the cave. The allegory of the cave, found in Book 7 of the Republic, is one of Plato's most famous metaphors. It illustrates the philosopher's path from ignorance to enlightenment and the challenges of educating those who remain in the darkness of ignorance. In the allegory, prisoners are chained in a cave, only able to see shadows cast on a wall by objects behind them. For these prisoners, the shadows represent reality, as they have never seen the actual objects. One prisoner, however, is freed and ascends to the outside world, where he discovers the true nature of reality. This ascent represents the philosopher's journey to knowledge, and the prisoner's return to the cave symbolizes the philosopher's duty to educate others, even if they resist or reject the truth. The ideal city and its classes. Plato's vision of the ideal city, Callipolis, is based on the principle of specialization, where each individual performs the role for which they are best suited. The city is divided into 3 classes: the rulers, the auxiliaries, and the producers. The rulers, or philosopher-kings, govern with wisdom and reason. The auxiliaries, or warriors, defend the city and enforce the laws. The producers, including farmers, artisans, and merchants, provide for the city's material needs. According to Plato, justice in the city arises when each class performs its function without overstepping its bounds. This hierarchical structure reflects Plato's belief that a well-ordered society depends on individuals fulfilling their natural roles, with the rulers providing guidance and the producers ensuring the city's prosperity. The tripartite soul. Just as Plato divides the city into 3 classes, he divides the human soul into 3 parts: reason, spirit, and appetite. Reason seeks truth and governs the soul, spirit is the source of courage and honor, and appetite drives basic desires and pleasures. For Plato, A just individual is one whose soul is properly ordered, with reason ruling over spirit and appetite. In this way, the justice of the soul mirrors the justice of the city. The philosopher, whose reason is most developed, is best equipped to rule both the city and the self. This theory of the tripartite soul has had a lasting influence on Western thought, particularly in the fields of psychology and ethics. Education and the role of women. Education plays a crucial role in Plato's ideal city, as it is through proper education that individuals can develop their potential and contribute to the common good. In the Republic, Plato outlines a rigorous educational program for the rulers and auxiliaries, which includes physical training, music, mathematics, and philosophy. Only those who excel in these disciplines are eligible to become philosopher kings. Interestingly, Plato also advocates for the equal education of women in the Republic, a radical idea for his time. He argues that women, like men, possess the same capacity for reason and should be allowed to participate in the ruling class if they demonstrate the necessary abilities. This idea reflects Plato's broader belief in the importance of meritocracy over rigid social hierarchies. The theory of forms. Central to Plato's philosophy in the Republic is the theory of forms, which posits that the material world is only a shadow of the true reality. According to Plato, the forms are eternal, unchanging ideals that exist in a realm beyond the physical world. Everything in the material world is a reflection of these perfect forms, which are only accessible through reason and philosophical inquiry. For example, all individual horses are mere imperfect copies of the form of the horse, which exists in the realm of the forms. The most important of these forms is the form of the good, which is the ultimate source of truth and knowledge. The philosopher, through reason, can come to understand the forms and, therefore, gain knowledge of the true nature of reality. The immortality of the soul. In the final book of the Republic, Plato discusses the immortality of the soul, drawing on the myth of to illustrate his point. According to the myth, the soul undergoes a cycle of death and rebirth, choosing its next life based on its experiences in the afterlife. Plato uses this myth to argue that the soul is eternal and that our actions in this life have consequences beyond the grave. The just person, whose soul is properly ordered, will be rewarded in the afterlife, while the unjust will suffer punishment. This belief in the immortality of the soul and the moral consequences of one's actions has had a profound influence on later religious and philosophical traditions, particularly in the development of Christian thought. Plato's Republic remains a cornerstone of Western philosophy, addressing fundamental questions about justice, governance, education, and the nature of reality. Through the dialogue between Socrates and his interlocutors, Plato presents a vision of the ideal city and the philosopher king, offering insights that continue to resonate in contemporary discussions of politics and ethics. The work's exploration of the tripartite soul, the allegory of the cave, and the theory of forms has shaped the way we understand knowledge, reality, and the human condition. More than 2,000 years after its creation, the Republic remains a vital and thought-provoking text, offering timeless lessons on the pursuit of justice and the search for truth.